The mind that perceives the limitation is the limitation. I came across this quote the other day, and really, this is a brilliant pointer to the nature of the mind, to the nature of perception. The mind that perceives the limitation is itself the limitation. So whatever you're looking at is actually not what you're looking at directly. Whatever you're looking at is the reality your mind is constructing. You're not looking at anything as it actually is. You're looking at it as the interpretation your mind is creating, that your thoughts are constructing. So when you drop the mental filter that defines the way things appear right now, when you let go of the mental story that says this is the way things are in my reality, when you drop it, you open yourself up to choose a different interpretation. You open yourself up to choose a different seeing. And every judgment, every interpretation, every label you impose upon this moment is its own dimension of experience. It contains its own unique quality of experience. It really is your interpretation, your reaction, your labeling of this moment that you retranslate as your world, as your personal reality. And this is something you can directly perceive in any moment. Right now, whatever limitation you believe you are experiencing, notice how it's only contained within the thoughts you are practicing, within the thoughts that are rising up within your awareness and being identified with. If you drop these thoughts, if you drop every notion you have about your life and yourself right now, if you simply let them go in this moment, look what happens. Look how suddenly your seeing, your outlook, your view becomes this infinite, open, vast field of awareness, pure awareness, no conditions, no limitations, no restrictions are imposed upon it. And the seeing is always there. It's always at the background of every thought that you practice. It's always at the background of every label that you identify with and make real in your experience. So, as you're sort of stepping into this, thought rises again. A thought arises and says, oh, but, this is what's actually here right now. This is what I'm experiencing. This is what's going on in my life. This is what's going on in my being. This is what's going on in my relationships. So thoughts carrying the very same content that you've been practicing frame after frame, moment after moment, arise. They, take up all of your attention, and you fall under the impression again. And it is an impression. It's a pressing upon yourself of an idea, of a label, of a condition, of a definition. So you fall under this impression of the story you've been practicing, and it feels like that's what's happening again, that, that limitation is the reality again. And I get individuals contacting me, asking me, well, how do I, or, how is it that I, and, overcoming whatever pattern that they may be entangled with in the moment. And really the first step is to pull back and out of the thoughts you're completely identified with. Notice that whatever you think you're experiencing right now is that. It's what you think you're experiencing. It's what you've been telling yourself is real. It's what you've been telling yourself is actual and unchanging and ever present in your reality, when what's really unchanging and ever present in your reality is the awareness that's at the back of all of these stories. And, this is the human experience, is this trap of identification with the momentary, temporary arising of patterns and prolonging them through that process of identification and attachment. So, yes, it does feel real. Yes, it does seem, weighty and it's weighing you down, and it's really happening. Yeah, there is that aspect of it when you're emerging into waking consciousness. But you also have this ability to divest, to withdraw all of the energy that you've been pumping into these patterns, so that you can experience what's at the back of it, what's always here, this boundless field of freedom. That is your nature. That is the very source of everything that you experience. That is the very source and container of everything that you are. So that's the first step, is to create a gap between you and the pattern of thought. The pattern of thoughts that are telling a story of limitation, that are continually generating this seeming reality of a limited experience, of a not enough moment, of a lacking life, of a unfulfilled instant. All of these versions of what's wrong with right now are contained in thought. All of these different versions of what's wrong with me are contained only in the thoughts that are being believed in. And, there's that overly used famous quote from Albert Einstein: you can't solve a problem from the same consciousness that created it. And it really ties in with the Buddha quote: the mind that perceives the limitation is the limitation. There is no separation between the limitation and the consciousness that is perceiving the limitation. Now stay with that for a moment. There is no separation between the limitation and the consciousness that is perceiving or experiencing the limitation. You're experiencing yourself. You're experiencing the very you that you are generating in this moment. What you're looking through is what you're looking at. The mind that you're using to look through and out into your world is actually the reality that you're looking at. Mind and reality are not separate. The wave of thoughts you're looking through are not separate from the reality that you're experiencing. And the amazing thing about you is that you have the ability to diffuse, dissolve, release, let go of these thoughts, so that you can open yourself up. You can open up the field of your awareness that you are to experience something different. It begins by you creating that gap. It begins by you letting go and opening up, realizing that, hey, wait a minute. These are the thoughts that I'm practicing, and I have the power and ability in this moment, always in this moment, to let them go. So that's the first step. Consider and reflect on the lens you're using to see this moment, to see yourself, to see and look at the people and situations in your life. Make it practical for yourself, and play around with it. What happens when I let go of this thought? What happens when I recognize that this is just a thought I'm having? And what happens when I let go of this thought? What mental filter, what private narrative am I looking through right now at this situation? What am I using to look at this person? What thoughts am I using to look at myself? And move your awareness around like this in your experience, in all directions of your experience, and see what happens. That's really where it begins.